Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start this lecture number 21 and welcome everybody. So we are going to start lecture number 21 today, and this is about techniques we use in business analysis. As we had discussed business analysis for quite a time now. We do know that business analysis knowledge areas, and then every knowledge area is further defined by the tasks and different number of tasks we have in different knowledge areas, and how to define that task, inputs, outputs, techniques, stakeholders and elements. And one of the component, as I've told you, is techniques, and we have while we were discussing the techniques, or actually we were discussing a few headings in relevant slides of business analysis, and then we had started in detail sessions on techniques. These techniques are not only used for business analysis. These techniques may be used in other elements of the project management, program management, portfolio management, and even daily project management or daily management activities, business management activities, and operational management stuff. So these techniques are there to help people, professionals, to carry out necessary analysis and necessary decision making. So this is the concept of these techniques, and let's have a summary of the previous lecture and before we start with lecture number 21. So previous lecture we had talked about acceptance and evaluation criteria definition. So we do know that if we want to accept one thing from a series or a few options we have, like 8 or 9 or 10 options we have, and we want to choose one, so what will we do? We will have some criteria fixed, okay? So, okay, if this criteria is met, so we will evaluate, and hence we will actually select one. So, and acceptance is if we are having one option and we want to see if that is feasible or not. So let's have an example of that. So when we are actually in a class, and there is an evaluation criteria if who is going to get more than 50 marks. So that is our passing mark criteria. So if somebody is getting 49, he or she is failed, and if somebody is getting more than that, so criteria is there. So we need we can evaluate like who is getting a maximum. If like 79 is one is getting 79 out of 100, and another student is getting like 86, and the third one is getting 46. So we will choose 86 will be the priority and will be the choice among 3 students we have. So this is kind of evaluation. So evaluation is actually when we are having different criterion and different options available. And when we have only one option available and we want to check if that is feasible, so we will have the same criteria again, and then we will see if that thing gets passed or not. So for acceptance, the criteria is given, and for evaluation, at times we need to select only the best. Okay, so if we are having like 3 and without setting the particular score, like we are just leaving this thing, and we are like the one who is actually performing well will be the selection. It is just like a race, you know. If 2 people are running a race, so one is very obviously is getting the first position, and the second one is second position, because 2 people are only running in that race. But what if we are having like 11 people? Then one will be the topper, and 10 remaining will not be at number 1. They may have subsequent numberings and stuff like that. So acceptance is when we are having one solution, and evaluation is for when we are having different options available. Then we discussed about benchmarking. So benchmarking, we actually see the working and processes and the deliverables and standards set by our competitors or peers. So that is benchmarking is that technique which actually helps us to set something for. First, we need to identify what aspect the competitor or peer is doing well in, and then we need to apprehend that, okay, so this is how we need to improve. So benchmarking जो है वो एक ऐसा बेसलाइन है जो आप खुद से सेट करते हैं अपने कंपटीटर्स को देख करके. उसके बाद ये हमने डिस्कस कर लिया था. देन ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग. ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग इज़ अ फन, मे बी फन. व्हाट वी नीड टू डू इज़ कि हम कुछ लोगों को बैठा लेते हैं और उनसे हम एक क्वेश्चन फ्लोट करते हैं और देन वी कलेक्ट द रिस्पॉन्सेज एज मैनी एज वी कैन, और फिर हम उन रिस्पॉन्सेज को जो फर्दर उसका करते हैं, एनालिसिस करते हैं. So, but point is we had talked about what are the elements of brainstorming and what are the advantages, disadvantages of the brainstorming. So brainstorming is just asking question and then collecting the responses from the people, and they try to create solutions as unique as they can, and they act creatively on that, and hence they are actually having this activity. And then we had talked about business analysis rules. We had talked about the rules, the policies, and then types of rules, and how we analyze business rules. Then data dictionary and glossary, हर एक हरफ का एक मखसूस मतलब होना चाहिए जब हम business analysis की बात कर रहे हैं, चाहे हम प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट की बात कर रहे हैं, कोई भी चीज़ इसके ऊपर हम डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं, उसमें हर एक चीज़ का एक मखसूस मतलब है, और हम वो मतलब जो है उसको ही इस्तेमाल करते हैं. तो ये सारी जो चीज़ें हैं ये बेसिकली हमारी ग्लॉसरी के अंदर होती हैं. इसके अलावा हमारे जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन है डाटा की, डाटा इटसेल्फ, उसकी इंफॉर्मेशन, डाटा की डाटा ऑफ डाटा एंड सच थिंग्स is placed in data dictionary. So data dictionary and glossary we have, and hence we can have information regarding that. Then we have data flow diagrams and DFDs, and data flow diagrams, they are basically the diagrams जिसके थ्रू हम जो भी कि हमारा क्या प्रोसेस हो रहा है, कहाँ से इनपुट आ रही है, क्या उसके अंदर रिएक्शन हो रहा है, और किस जगह पे जा कर के वो आउटपुट बन रहा है, क्या हमारे पास डिसीजन अल्टरनेटिव्स हैं उसके अंदर. सो दैट इज़ बीन शोन बाय DFD. एंड देन डाटा मॉडलिंग के ऊपर हमने बात की. मॉडल किस तरह के होते हैं, टेक्सचुअल मॉडल की बात की थी, ग्राफिकल मॉडल्स की बात की थी, मॉडल डेवलप करना और फिर उसमें लॉजिक क्रिएट करना, और उस लॉजिक का बेसिकली एक ऐसी चीज़ क्रिएट करना जो कि हमें रियलिटी के करीब का रिज़ल्ट दे जब हम उसको सॉल्व करें, या जब उसको रन करें, या जब हम उसको ऑपरेट करें. तो वो जो भी आंसर हमें दे वो एज नियर एज पॉसिबल हो रियलिटी के. सो बहुत सारी मॉडल्स कई तरह से हो सकते हैं, और ये हमने बेसिकली यहाँ डिस्कस किया था. देन डिसीजन एनालिसिस, जब हमने जब काफ़ी सारा एनालिसिस कर लिए, और जब हमने काफ़ी सारे डाटा इकट्ठा कर लिया, और जब हमने काफ़ी सारी सॉर्टिंग कर ली, तो उसके बाद बेसिकली हम ये सारा काम करते हैं कि हमने कुछ चॉइस करनी है. हमने क्राइटेरियाज बना लिए, हमने स्टैंडर्ड सेट कर लिए, हमने बेसलाइंस बना ली, हमने बड़ा क्रिएटिवली देख लिया कि क्या प्रॉब्लम्स फर्दर हो सकती हैं, क्या सोल्यूशन हो सकते हैं. और जब हमने सारा कुछ कर लिया तो उसके बाद फिर हमें कुछ चूज़ करना है. सो दैट इज़ डन इन डिसीजन एनालिसिस. और उसके बाद एक टेक्निक है डॉक्यूमेंट एनालिसिस, डॉक्यूमेंट को एनालाइज करना. क्या क्या इन्फॉर्मेशन हमें मिल सकती है, चाहे वो एंटरप्राइज के डॉक्यूमेंट्स हों, चाहे वो आर्टिकल रिव्यूज़ हों, या चाहे कोई SOPs वगैरह हों. So that is very lesson learned भी हो सकते हैं. So that is very important part we had discussed the other time. So let's move towards today's lecture, and we will continue with the techniques as we have already discussed that we will complete these techniques in 3 sessions. One session has already been completed. This is the second session, and we will have a third session on these techniques, and after concluding that we will proceed to the next seminar. So these 2 lectures which we are carrying, this one and upcoming lecture will be the last 2 lectures of this seminar, which is very lengthy seminar now, but this is another knowledge area we have. So technique they alter the way a business analysis task is performed, or describe a specific form of the output of a task which may take. One of the technique we extensively use in business analysis or even project management and other things, so that is about estimation. So estimation techniques are used to develop a better understanding of the possible range of costs and efforts associated with an initiative. So we are very much familiar of cost estimates and time estimates and effort estimates. So estimation is used when it is impossible to determine exact cost. So when we have the definition of estimation, that is kind of approximation. So we may actually have a good estimate of the future, but you know, estimates are made of so many things, and those things are kind of variables. They can change the price of that one item. Okay, so let's have this thing. So we are having one work package over there, and then one work package over there, and then one work package over there, and one work package over there. So this is our project A, and this is having a work package A, B, C, D, and now 10 rupees, 10 rupees, 10 rupees. The cost of every, or the price of every work package is 10, but that is market based. So it may be 8, the next month 11, 10, 9, and third month these costs may be like 12, 11, 10, and 21. So accordingly we will have different estimates then, but eventually there are so many methods available to estimate the cost, and there are levels of accuracy attached with every estimation technique and method. So we should know that, and there are other things available to you know, statistical tools, time series and extrapolations, and then we can use simulations, and we can have probabilistic estimates and stuff like that. So this is the whole concept. So estimation cannot and does not eliminate uncertainty. We should understand that. Rather, the purpose of estimation is to get a reasonable assessment of likely costs or effort required. So we cannot eliminate, but we can minimize the extent of the cost. So the level of effort will define how good our estimate is. So the less information that is available to the estimator, the greater the range of uncertainty will be, and estimates should be revisited as more information becomes available. So this is how estimation works. So as far as elements are concerned, we are having analogous estimation. So use of similar project as the basis of developing estimates for the current project. It is used when a little is known Analogous estimating is often used to develop a rough order magnitude estimate and is also known as top-down estimating. So what we do is we are actually basing on the things like similar projects, and that is we think like, okay, we had developed one software and the cost was like 500,000. So now we are developing software, so the cost will be like 500,000 because the same team is working over there. So this is very rough, and accuracy may range up to plus minus 35%. Now that is huge. And then we are having parametric estimation, and the use of parameters multiplied by the number of hours. So for parametric estimating to be usable, enough history has to be available to be used as the basis of comparison. For example, the business analyst has determined that there will be 10 use cases developed. The business analyst also has history that indicates for each use case the total hours that will be spent in this case will be 20 hours. So using this technique, the business analyst can multiply 10 with 20 and get 200 hours. So for one case, we usually have 20 hours consumed. And now we want to develop 10 cases, and hence 20 times 10 is equal to 200 hours. Similarly, we can have like if we are constructing a 5 marla house, or if we are 10 marla house, so we can say like, okay, per square feet cost will be something like 1,500 rupees per SFT, like 2,000 rupees per SFT. So kind of this standard can be used. And then we are having very good very kind of accurate thing, and that is bottom-up estimation. And for that a parametric estimation, we can have accuracy minus 10 to plus 15 or something like that. So bottom-up estimation, using this technique, the business analyst has collected the deliverables, activities, tasks, estimates from all the involved stakeholders, and rolls them up to get a total for all the activities and tasks. So because it is normally easier to estimate smaller items than the larger items, bottom-up estimating can produce the most accurate and defensible estimates. So this is how bottom-up estimation works, and we are using this. So accuracy is plus minus 5%, and over there what we do is we are having a project, and then this project is divided into work packages, and hence we are having, and then these work packages are further divided into smaller work elements, and these work elements are further divided into activities, and these activities we can estimate the cost of these activities, because those are quite manageable and understandable, and then we sum up the cost of these activities and we put there, and then we sum up the cost of work elements over there, and then we will have the cost over there, and hence we will sum up the cost of these work packages, and then we get the cost of a project over there. So this is bottom-up estimation. We go as low as possible and as practical, and hence we can have the prices of the larger items, and hence the project or initiative. Then there is another way, and that is rolling wave. This is a technique involving refinement of the estimates with the passage of time. So estimate the details for activities in current iteration or increment, and provide an analogous estimate for the entire scope of work. As the end of the iteration approaches, estimates for next iteration can be made, and the initial estimate for all activities is refined. So this is rolling wave phenomena. Then we use 3-point estimation. Uses scenarios for the most optimistic estimate or best case scenario, the most pessimistic estimate or worst case scenario, and the most likely estimate. And this concept is used in PER formula as well. And over there we are having weighted average concept, and that is we have most optimistic estimate plus pessimistic and then 4 times most likely, and we divide it by 6. So this in this fashion we can have the estimate of cost and time and stuff like that. So this is weighted average stuff. And then we have historic analysis. So these uses history as a basis for estimating. It is similar to analogous estimation, but is used not only for the top-down estimate but for the detailed tasks as well. Historic estimates require prior project records, whether maintained formally in project repository or informally in individual project documentation. And then expert judgment. Estimating relies on the expertise of those who have performed the work in the past, and these experts can be internal or external to the project team or to the organization. And then Delphi estimation. This technique uses a combination of expert judgment and history, and there are several variations on this process, but they all include individual estimates, sharing the estimates with experts, and having several rounds until consensus is reached. So Delphi is all about consensus. So we can use that for estimating. And okay, so first thing, we have taken all the examples like of costs, but we can use the times in similar fashion. We can use these techniques for estimation other tangible things. So time and cost are very much possible. If there are some other parameters, we can have evaluate them as well on that technique. And then advantages and disadvantages. Estimates can help stakeholders make better decisions based on an improved understanding of the likely outcomes from an initiative, as the figures we are having actually ensures the very correctness of the concept. Disadvantages are there. Stakeholders frequently treat estimates as commitments and expect that once an estimate is given, the solution team will meet the time and cost estimate. So this is disadvantages that they may be, under pressure because of the numbers. And then another technique which we had been using is focus groups. Now focus group is composed of pre-qualified individuals whose objective is to discuss and comment on a topic. This is an opportunity for individuals to share their own ideas and perspectives and discuss them in a group setting. This could lead participants to reevaluate their own perspectives in the light of others' experiences. A trained moderator manages the administrative pre-work, facilitates the session, and produces the report. Observers may record or monitor the focus group, but to not participate. And the work of a focus group may be similar to that done in a brainstorming session. One difference is that the focus group is typically more structured. Another difference is that the brainstorming session's goal is actively seek broad, creative, even exaggerated ideas, but in focus groups they are very much confined and they behave in bounded rationality thing, because when we design focus groups, we may have one type of people in one focus group. Like if we are discussing some problem about engineering thing, so we will have people from engineering wing over there, and hence we will get a solution which is very much reliable as far as engineering is concerned. And if we are having one problem of finance thing, so we will be having finance people around, and hence we will have a solution or we will have a discussion on that very matter. So this is kind of a group of kind of working people, working professional in that particular field. So this may actually give a very good idea. On the other end, brainstorming, we can call anybody and let's hear their point of view of what is another out of the box, or if somebody is not actually expressing or behaving like boundary rationality. So that is very, very important. So over there we want to be very creative, and we want to have even exaggerated ideas. So we need to understand the difference between both, and there are a few elements, and the first element is for preparation. So for a focus group typically has 6 to 12 attendees. It may be necessary to invite additional individuals in order to allow for those who do not attend the session due to scheduling conflicts, emergencies, or for other reasons. If many people need to participate, it may be necessary to run more than one focus group. The topic of the focus group will influence who should be recruited. If the topic is a new product, it is likely that existing users should be included. There are pros and cons that should be considered when using homogeneous versus heterogeneous composition. Reserve site and service. Select the location for the session. Arrange for technical support to transcribe the session, and if used, audio-video taping equipment. So if somebody is there to take the notes or minutes, that would be fine. But if we are having some audio-video or tapping equipment, so that may also be very good thing. And then after preparation, we need to run the focus group session. And the moderator guides the group's discussion, follows a pre-planned script of specific issues, and ensures the objectives are met. However, the group discussion should appear free-flowing and relatively unstructured for the participant. A session is typically 1 to 2 hours in length. A recorder captures the group's comments. So now that is very tricky. We want to give it a feel like unstructured. They are talking, they are discussing, but there are distractions as well. So there comes the moderator to play, and he or she is actually is directing the participants to keep on track, and all such distractions, the discussion on a match or discussion on a on the food or weather and stuff like that, which or a recent accident or something like that. So such discussions, such triggers or such distractions may actually jeopardize the whole concept of focus groups. Well, people, when they are from a same group, or they are having tendency to discuss things, or they want to give the direction to the things in the most recent events, and then moderator that is actually there to keep a good track of the discussion on one discussed or one decided thing. And then produce a report is the third element, and when we have prepared that, and then we had run the focus group session, and now we need to produce the report. So the moderator analyzes and documents the participants' agreements and disagreements and synthesizes them into themes. So this is how the whole focus group thing works over there. And then we are having focus groups usage, and what are the advantages? Few of advantages are it has the ability to elicit data from a group of people in a single session, saving time and cost as compared to conducting individual interviews with the same number of people. Effective for learning people's attitude, experiences and desires, and active discussion and the ability to ask others questions creates an environment where participants can consider their personal view in relation to other perspectives. And disadvantage is in the group setting, participants may be concerned about about issues of trust, or may be unwilling to discuss sensitive or personal topics. So second disadvantage is data collected, what people say may not be consistent with how people actually behave. So if somebody is stating something or is asking to do something or is committing something, this may not be the way if this person may behave in future. So one person may be like committing, okay, I will give this data or something like that, very fine, I'll give this, and then the other day he is saying, okay, we need to have some approvals for that data and stuff like that. So all this exercise may lead to then give wrong impression of that stakeholder. So if the group is too homogeneous, their responses may not represent the complete set of requirements. So if they are from like in one section and they are from one thing, so requirements may be from different sections. So a skilled moderator is needed to manage group interactions and discussions. And it may be difficult to schedule the group for the same date and time because different people may be free at different time and date, and some people may be actually working on critical activities in their respective projects and schedules. So how to bring them in all when we want, so that may be a tricky part. So for focus groups, and while we are asking for like they may leave the job or workplace for like 1 hour, and then there may be some physical barriers like distance and stuff like that. So we need to consider that as well. And then we are having this technique, functional decomposition. So it involves breaking down a large problem into smaller functions or deliverables. So the primary goal of functional decomposition is to ensure that the problem is separated into sub-problems that are independent as possible, so that work can be assigned to different groups. This provides the ability to scale and manage larger projects. So this is about functional decomposition. Okay, so if we are having a function and this is divided into subfunction 1 and 2, and this function is done through process 1, 2 and 3, and process 1 is done through activity 1, 2 and 3. So if these 3 activities are completed, process 1.1 will be completed, and so is the case with this. So if these 2 activities are completed, so this process will be completed. Now this is completed, and in similar fashion now this is completed. So sub-function, after completing all 3, some function will be complete, but the function cannot be complete without this. So we are completed with this, and we are completed with this and this and this. So by the time it will be completed, and hence it will be completed, and our function is completed. So what we are doing over there, we are dividing our function into subfunction, and then processes, and then further activities, or sub processes. So we can actually have that. So functional decomposition identifies the high level functions of an organization or solution, and then breaks those functions into smaller pieces such as sub-processes, activities, features, and so forth. So when decomposing an organizational function, models start with the top level function, typically corresponding with an organizational unit, and continue to drill down into sub-functions, representing the processes carried out by that unit, and beneath those sub-processes and individual activities. These can be represented by hierarchical diagram, a tree diagram, or by numbering each sub-function. And through this functional decomposition, we can have our advantages and our disadvantages. There are advantages like creating a conceptual model of the work that needs to be completed to deliver the new business solution is one advantage of this decomposition. And then provides all stakeholders with the consistent view of the scope of the effort, and assists estimating, and that estimate can be made for smaller and therefore more readily understandable subsets of the whole. So these are advantages. And then we are having disadvantages as well. So there is no way to be certain that all components have been captured. Decomposing a problem without fully understanding the relationship between pieces of the problem may create an inappropriate structure that impedes analysis. So these are disadvantages as well. So this is all about functional decomposition. And next technique that is very important, and that is interviews. So we are going to talk in those interviews in detail. So in an interview, the interviewer formally or informally directs questions to a stakeholder in order to obtain answers that will be used to create formal requirements. So one-on-one interviews are typically most common. In a group interview with more than one interviewee in attendance, the interviewer must be careful to elicit responses from all the attendees. And for the purpose of eliciting requirements, interviews are of two basic type, and those are structured interview and unstructured interview. So structured interviews are those where interviewer has a predefined set of questions and is looking for the answers. So what we do is, if we want to go and interview some experts, and experts, they are always having less time, and they are reluctant to give the time, and after contacting their personal secretaries and stuff like that, and then we come across with this opportunity to meet this stakeholder or this senior expert, or from which we want to elicit the information. So what we will do, we are having very dedicated time, like 30 minutes slot. So we will write up few questions, and then we will try to remain within the ambit of those questions, and hence we have sub questions as well, like if this is the question, and what may be the sub questions. Okay, if that is the answer, then we will ask this. If this is the answer, we will ask this, and so on and so forth. Unstructured interviews are also used, so where without any predefined questions, the interviewer and the interviewee discuss topic of interest in an open-ended way. So they are just sitting and they are talking, and interviewer is actually collecting the possible discussion, and hence they can have different points discussed, and interviewer may have the results or the understanding of the things which he or she really needs from the interviewee. So we can use interviews for that. And there are elements to interviews. We define the interview's focus or goal before we proceed to the interview. So identify first of the thing who is going to get interviewed, who is going to be interviewed, because that will actually eventually help us to identify our final objective. So if we do know that who is our potential interviewee, so we can actually structure the remaining things accordingly, and then design the interview. We can have, like, if we are structuring an interview, we have structured interview, we can set a few questions and then probable questions which may be asked, supplementary questions and stuff like that. And if we are not doing a structured interview, still we need to give a direction to our discussion when we are open. We are just having open and session. So, but we want to channelize the discussion in the way where we can actually get maximum as we are taking this interview for some certain So we need to design such parameters, and then contact potential interviewees. So after deciding and after having designing the interview, we can actually contact potential interviews, and we can have interviews, and then conduct the interview. So opening the interview, the interviewer states the purpose of the interview, addresses any initial concerns raised by the interviewee. Okay, we are not going to state your name, your information is very much confidential, your responses will not be disclosed to anybody, and such things, like people are very much concerned about their identity at times, and such things. If how can you use the results of this interview? So the interviewer is actually addressing those concerns, and hence and then during the interview, the interviewer maintains focus on established goals and predefined questions. All concerns raised by the interview are addressed, and interviewer practices active listening to confirm what has been understood from the information. So active listening is very important, a part of the oral communication, and interviews, they are about oral communication. Whatever the interview is saying, that needs to be understood. We need not to put our words, or we should not put our understanding first, and we should not make assumptions like he intends or she intends to say that. We should listen carefully if what may be the different point of view this other person may have. And then closing the interview. So the interviewer asks the interviewee for areas that may have been overlooked in the session. And lastly, the interviewer summarizes the session, reminds the interview of upcoming review process, and thanks the interview for their time. And after reviewing review process, the results may be shared with those who interviewed. So interviews, they have advantages, they have disadvantages. So advantages, it encourages participants participation and establish rapport with the stakeholder, and simple direct technique that can be used in varying situations, allows the interviewer and participant to have full discussions and explanations of the questions and answers, enables observations of non-verbal behavior. So 70%, more than 70% of the communication the human beings, they do through body language. So that may be very positive thing which we can have from interviews, which is not possible through other means of data collection. The interviewer can ask follow-up and probing questions to confirm their own understanding and maintains focus through the use of clear objectives for the interview that are agreed upon by all the participants and can be met in this time allotted, and allows interviewees to express opinions in private that may be reluctant to express in public. So these are few advantages of interview. And then there are a list of disadvantages of the interviews. So interviews are not an ideal means of reaching consensus across a group of stakeholders. It requires considerable commitment and involvement of the participants. Training is required to conduct effective interviews. In particular, unstructured interviews require special skills including facilitation, virtual facilitation, and active listening. And depth of follow-on questions may be dependent on the interviewer's knowledge of the business domain. And transcription and analysis of the interview data can be complex and expensive. And based on the level of clarity provided during the interview, the resulting documentation may be subject to interviewer's interpretation. And there is a risk of unintentionally leading the interview. So hence the interview may actually respond whatever you wanted him to say, and hence there is no point of interviewing then, because अगर आपने अपनी ही बात अपने ही नतीजे पे उसको लेकर के जाना है तो फिर इंटरव्यू का मकसद क्या होगा. इंटरव्यू में तो हम बेसिकली एक डिफरेंट ओपिनियन को कैप्चर करने की कोशिश करते हैं. And then we use this technique, a very important technique, lesson learned process. We have talked on that lesson learned a lot in project management and business analysis thing, and in daily life we are using. So lesson learned is very important technique. So the purpose of lesson learned process is to compile and document successes, opportunities and improvements, failures, their reasons, and recommendations for improving the performance of future projects or project phases. So lesson learned sessions can include any format or venue that works for the key stakeholders identified as participants in these sessions. And lesson learned sessions can include a review of business analysis activities. So how these business analysis activities are performing. If we have set some KPIs or matrices, we can check and if there were a problem and how were we able to resolve them, and hence we will have lesson learned and those are documented, and we can have sessions to document such things. And then business analysis deliverables and the final product, the business analysis process itself, and automation and technology used or not used, managerial concerns or issues, how organizational process assets helped or hindered the business analysis and requirements process, performance against plan, and variances, what are the root causes of the variances, whether the variances were routine or significant anomalies, and then corrective or preventive action recommended, approved or rejected and taken, and what were the consequences of those. So change management is fully actually integrated with lesson learned process. So these are few elements. We have a lot of advantages, like useful for identifying opportunities for the process improvement and can help build team morale after a difficult period. And disadvantages, all participants must be prepared to avoid any urge to assign blame during these sessions, or honest discussion may not occur. And then participants may be reluctant to document and discuss problems and may risk becoming a gripe session, and improvement opportunities may be neglected. This may be another disadvantage. And then we use matrices and KPIs, key performance indicators. So a metric is a quantifiable level of an indicator that an organization use to measure progress. So there is an indicator if we are performing well or not. So that is a matrix. And an indicator identifies a specific numerical measurement that represents the degree of progress toward achieving a goal, objective, output, activity, or further input. So we can say project is 67% is complete. So 67% is an indicator, and that is a metrics, the progress. A key performance indicator is the one that measures progress towards a strategic goal or objective. And then matrices and reporting are key components of monitoring and evaluation. And monitoring is continuous process of collecting data to determine how well a solution has been implemented compared to expected results. And evaluation is the systematic and objective assessment of a solution to determine its status and efficacy in meeting objectives over time, and to identify ways to improve the solution to better meet objectives. So this is about matrices and key performance indicators. And then indicators. An indicator, we have talked about matrices and now about indicators. An indicator identifies a specific numerical measurement of a goal, impact, output, activity, or input. Each factor of interest has at least one indicator to measure it properly, but some may require several. A good indicator has 5 characteristics. Clear, it should be clear, precise and unambiguous. Relevant, it should be appropriate to the factor. Economical, and then available at reasonable cost. Adequate, provides a sufficient basis to assess performance. And quantifiable, can be independently validated as well. So matrices are quantifiable levels of indicators that are measured at a specific point in time. A target metric says this objective to be reached within a specified period. And then structure is another element of matrices and key performance indicators. And this is about establishing a monitoring and evaluation system. Requires a data collection procedure, a data analysis procedure, or reporting procedure, and collection of baseline data and stuff like that. And reporting typically reports compare the baseline, current matrices, and target matrices to each other with calculations of the differences presented in both absolute and relative terms. In most situations, trends are more credible and important than absolute matrices like variances, and visual presentations tend to be more effective than tables, particularly when using qualitative text to explain the data. So there is no point showing tables over there. It is good to have some graphical representation over there. So just like other techniques, matrices and key performance indicators, they have advantages and they have disadvantages. So one of the advantage of matrices and key performance indicators is establishing a monitoring and evaluation system allows stakeholders to understand the extent to which a solution meets an objective and how effective the inputs and activities of developing the solution were. And indicators, matrices, and reporting also facilitate organizational alignment, linking goals to objectives, supporting solutions, underlying tasks, and resourcing. And then we are having disadvantages like gathering excessive amounts of data beyond what is needed will result in unnecessary expenses in collecting, analyzing, and reporting. A bureaucratic metrics program fails from collecting too much data and not generating useful reports that will allow timely responsive action. And when matrices are used to assess performance, the individuals being measured are likely to act to increase their performance on those matrices, even if this cause suboptimal performance on other activities. So these are few disadvantages we have. And then we have talked about this technique, and that is non-functional requirement analysis. So non-functional requirements document the quality of system that are important to the user community, such as usability, learnability, reliability, and the development community, such as scalability, maintainability, and reusability, etc. So there may be some other requirement analysis which is So non-functional requirements are usually organized into categories, and categorization supports the discovery of non-functional requirements by providing a mental checklist of characteristics to consider when performing requirements elicitation. So we need to understand what is the reliability of the solution we are actually going through, and whether this thing is going to be reliable or not, and what is the efficiency of that solution. So performance efficiency is one very important parameter, and then operability, how easy it is to operate, and then security, how secure our solution may be, and compatibility, if we have developed a solution, is that solution is compatible with already existed solution, and then maintainability, how much maintenance we are in need of, and then transferability, and if we want to transfer the information, how easy it is or how difficult it is to transfer. So this is about elements. And then usage advantages. So success in meeting non-functional requirements will have a strong influence on whether or not a system is accepted by its users. And disadvantages. So non-functional requirements are often more difficult to define than functional requirements, and expectations regarding quality attributes may not be described, and users of an application may find them difficult to articulate, and different people may have different understanding of the things. And then we have one technique, and that is observation. So observation is a mean of eliciting requirements by conducting an assessment of the stakeholders' work environment. This technique is appropriate when documenting details about current processes, or if the project is intended to enhance or change a current process. There are two basic approaches for the observation techniques. One is passive and invisible, and other is active or visible. In this passive approach, the observer observes the user working through the business routine but does not ask questions. The observer records what is observed but otherwise stays out of the way. Active and visible. In this approach, while the observer observes the current processes and takes notes, they may dialogue with the users as well. So observation में भी कि हम एक साइड में बैठ जाएं और कुछ लोग इंटरव्यू कर रहे हैं, कुछ लोग गपशप कर रहे हैं, और हम उनके जो कंसर्न्स हैं या जो इश्यूज हैं या जो बॉडी लैंग्वेज है उसको हम नोट कर लें. दूसरा ये हो सकता है कि हम खुद उसका टीम का हिस्सा हो और हम एक्टिवली उनसे कुछ डायलॉग भी कर सकें. So the elements we have for observation is there are preparation for observation. So we need to determine what sampling of users to observe and which activities, and then we need to prepare questions to ask during or after the shadowing, and observe. Then after preparation we need to observe, and observer introduces him or herself to person being observed and conduct observation, and then post-observation wrap-up, documentation and confirmation. So provide a summary of notes to the users as soon as possible for review and any clarification, and when observing many users, compile notes at regular intervals to identify commonalities and differences among users. So these are few elements of observations. So just like other techniques, we are having advantages, and those are provides realistic and practical insight into the business by getting a hands-on feel of how the business process works today, and elicits details of informal communication and ways people actually work around the system that may not be documented anywhere. And disadvantages are there. Only possible for existing processes, could be time consuming, may be disruptive to the person being shadowed, like they cannot, if somebody is watching you, you may not be performing that good. Unusual expectations and critical situations that happen infrequently may not occur during the observation, may not well work if the current process involves a high level of intellectual activity or other work that is not easily observable. So these are few advantages and disadvantages of observations. And then we are having problem tracking. It provides an organized approach to tracking, management and resolution of defects, issues, problems, risks throughout the business analysis activities, and management of issues is important so that they can be resolved in a timely manner to ensure success. And problems may include issues, questions, risks, defects, conflicts, and other concerns that need to be tracked to resolution. And we need to record. A problem record may contain some or all of the following information, like description, what is the description of the problem, and who raised the problem, and what date it was identified, and what may be the having this problem may have impact on our objectives of the project. What is the priority, and what is the end date, probable end date, and who is the owner of that, and what is the status, and what actions we need to resolve, and who is responsible for action, and completion date of action and outcome. Then other elements may be problem management and matrices. So the problem must be tracked and managed until the problem is fixed or it is determined that no action will be taken. And matrices, an additional element that can be useful to gauge how the project is doing regarding problems resolution, is to decide on a set of matrices and key performance indicators. So we are having advantages. So problem tracking provides an organizational method for tracking and resolving risks, issues, and defects. In the following situations, it may be challenging. If regular prioritization management of problem is not done, the list becomes outdated and irrelevant. If key team members are not available on a regular basis to discuss the lists of problems and determine actions to be taken, then the progress to resolve them may become very slow or to non-existent. If there is a strict deadline to deliver the solution, then problem management may become a low priority. And with that, we have concluded our lecture. And let's have a summary of this lecture for a minute or two. And in this lecture, we have talked about estimation and the elements of estimation, the types of estimation, and focus groups, how they work, what are the advantages, disadvantages, functional decomposition, and then we had talked about interviews and structured or unstructured interviews, lesson learned process, matrices and key performance indicators, non-functional requirement analysis, and observation and problem tracking. So all these techniques have been discussed in this lecture. So I hope we have found this lecture very informative, and those techniques can be used in so many other body of knowledges as well. So when we meet again, we will be concluding this technique part, and for that time, I say goodbye, good luck, and Allah Hafiz.